Hi, you're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sudram. With my co-host Ashley Case, we'll be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Tania Field. Tania is 12 plus years, strategic communications and project management professional with expertise in guiding bid management and proposal development processes for leading Australian investment trusts in real estate. Currently, Tania is senior tender specialist in Tender Plus. Prior to Tender Plus, Tania was with Dexus for 8 years in Origin Energy. Tania is also part of an APMP ANZ Chapter Committee member as conference and events lead. Tania is a commerce degree graduate from University of Sydney and is APMP Foundation certified. There's a lot more to talk about, Tania. Welcome to Scribble Talk, Tania. Great to have you with us.
Hello, Baz. How are you going?
I'm good, Tania. Good. So then let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your early schools.
Sure. Well, I was born in Sydney, Australia. And in terms of high school and education, I went to a all-girls school, Loretto College, Normanhurst. And basically, after leaving school, I worked for a while, stopped and started university quite a few times. Couldn't really understand why I was there. I needed to probably explore a little bit more in terms of education. Moved on and did went to the School of Colour and Design, did a diploma of surface design, and then basically moved on to later to, formalise my knowledge of business development and tendering with a diploma. And then, of course, prior to that, I went to Uni of Sydney to do a graduate certificate in commerce.
Wow. So that's a lot you covered in less than 1 minute. Let's
Sorry.
just go back.
Shall I expand?
Yes, please. So any childhood memories growing up in the girls' schools?
Childhood memories. Well, no, actually, the biggest thing, and I'm a bit of a business nerd, if anything does, and probably the one thing that I guess the most formative thing I can think about. I mean, school was lots of fun. I had great friends. All girls school, great. I've grown up with basically 3 big brothers, so it was a great opportunity to get away from them and have a bit of independence. But definitely throughout school and in the last year of school, they introduced a subject called business studies. And it was like a penny dropped for me. And I knew that was an area that I was very interested in. And I've sort of made that as my life's mission coming out of school. Certainly, I studied for 2.5 years doing an undergrad in business. I just didn't finish it. But basically, it has been the central core theme for me in terms of my working career and my love of business books. So that's probably my strongest memory.
Got it. That's amazing. And School of Color and Design. The title, the school's name is really amazing. I mean, like, what's the surface design, applied color design? Is it related to arts, or is it?
Yeah. It's nothing to do with tendering, that's for sure, Baz. But it basically, it was probably one of my random creative pursuits. When I was working at, I think it was Origin Energy at the time, I just love color, and I am creative, and I wanted to learn how to mix color. So they basically taught us how to do the entire color wheel and all of the intermixed colors, secondary colors. So we could take a photo of any situation, the interior of a room, a landscape, and I would know how to mix up every single color in that picture. So basically taught me, I guess, the meaning behind color and composition of creative artworks. And then I built on that with the Diploma of Surface Design, which was more around the study of repeat patterns and placement designs. So there was an early thought for me that maybe that might be a potential career path. But I soon learnt that you compromise probably a little bit too much when you're an artist, and it probably, it wasn't really enough of a passion once I finished the course to think that it was something that I would be able to pursue.
Wow, that looks amazing. And sorry, the colors. I mean, how was it when you mixed up different colors and got some patterns, etc.? I mean, like, I'm sure when you did it for the first time, it will be like, wow, right? It's I think even thinking about it makes me happy. But while you're doing it, I'm sure it would have given you a lot of happiness.
That's a nice way to think about it, Baz. It was actually a very stressful course.
Oh, really?
It's
Wow.
because it's certified, so it's VTAB accredited, and it basically was pretty strict in terms of the process you had to go through, and I think the check boxes you had to tick in order to get your certificate. I had a very good friend of mine who's still a great friend today, who was doing it at the same time as me, and we would often, it was like you'd end up in the fetal position because it was just so intense and overwhelming at times. But yeah, so of course it's a lovely, maybe to romanticize about it. It is a great thing, and color is wonderful to explore, but it was under exam conditions, Baz, so probably took the romance out of it a little bit.
I was
but
just
still
imagining.
Excellent foundation, really, like, and has helped me today, you know. Sorry to cut you off, but if you think about putting forward proposals and how you creatively you know, pitch your ideas, it has helped in terms of being able to, I guess, brief in designers and work with them collaboratively in coming up with creative ideas.
Wow, totally. And I think simplistically, I thought, oh, if you mix yellow and green, you're going to get blue. I don't know.
Something wonderful. Yeah.
Exactly. I thought it's arts thing, and you are creative. My God, this list looks so stressful. But I'm glad that you completed, you got your certificate, and part of Origin Energy. Yeah. You was also working with communications around the same time. And was that your very first role that you took in a professional level, or prior to that you were doing part-time roles? Things okay, yeah.
No, I mean, I've done, I've probably got a 20+ year work history. Prior to Origin was at KPMG, and my final role there was a HR consultant. So I worked my way through in Origin. My last role was basically in strategic internal communications. Yeah, so in the end, about 3+ years in that role as a channel manager and strategic internal comms. Yeah, it was pretty good. A great company, large company, and I was there for about 13 years in total.
Wow, 13 years, then you moved to Dexus, and from there to that's great, because these one of the things which I really love about your career is like, you do spend considerable time in a company, and you do kind of take varied roles within the company. Talk us through both in Origin Energy, also in Dexus, the role that you did initially, and how you kind of progressed or kind of varied your roles across your career on both this organization, Tanya.
Yeah, sure. I think I've had a pretty privileged time in both organizations, starting out in executive assistant roles, working for the chief financial officer at Origin, and then taking a secondment, and in that time, taking on different secondments to help cover facilities management, and then eventually moving into internal communication and running quite big corporate events in terms of Origin's 10-year anniversary, where they basically running big employee roadshows, where the CEO would tour around all of the state locations and deliver employee engagement comms. And then also the big celebration of Origin's 10-year anniversary, a huge dinner with esteemed guests, and and also a video that we pulled together at the time. So big major corporate events, and always the big 400-person Christmas parties over that time. And in the same vein, when I jumped ship from Origin, I had a great time there. Probably for me, the primary concern is always staying too long in a place, to be honest, Baz. I'm a pretty loyal person, and I also enjoy the fact that once you're in a company, there's always so much that changes, and it's pretty interesting, and you develop that knowledge, you deepen your knowledge, and you add more value as time goes on. And then in Dexus as well, starting off in an executive assistant role, I was only meant to be there for a very short time, which ended up being 8 years, to where I was given a great opportunity in terms of a secondment to work on an unsolicited proposal, which is for a big redevelopment adjacent to one of the major railway stations in Sydney called Central Station. And that was probably around 3 years in total, to the point where the JV was moving to a more formal state. So we helped to basically continue to, I guess, work together as a JV in pursuit of the final stage of the unsolicited proposal. And that at that point, I moved into Tender Plus, where I was able to, I guess, solely focus more on tendering across all types of industries and sectors.
That's amazing. I think you kind of positioned yourself towards, because obviously tenders is not like one thing. It's a lot of soft skills that goes within writing the tenders, and also working with people, interpersonal skills, soft skills, influencing, you name it. But I think you've got some amazing foundations there, part of your early parts with both Origin Energy and also with Dexus there, that kind of enables you to do a lot more on the tenders. But again, shifting from working full-time in a company to more or less become a consultant for other companies, Tanya, was there any initial challenges you need to adjust yourself, or you were totally comfortable with this transition?
Really interesting question, Baz, because yes, there is. It's a huge transition. When you're in a company, you're just dealing in that same information, although the information changes, and businesses contract and expand all the time, and different priorities, but you deepen your knowledge of the business, and you're often I always feel very fast to have answers to, when you're pulling together tenders, it's a lot of information that you're building in terms of pitching and your case studies. And so I guess that it's second nature. And when you're in a consulting role, it's almost like you're introducing yourself every single time to a new client, but also you, across a very short period of time, you have to know enough about the organisation to be able to help highlight their strengths and their opportunities, and also becoming really good at asking clever questions to get to the end game as fast as possible. So I still think the position, I guess the one thing that's helped me in terms of consulting is that I think it's an absolute privilege when you get invited in to a business, because there's a position of trust where they're sharing a lot of information to you, and proving yourself as a caretaker of that information in the right way. So there's just a different set of skills, and where you're building that trusted advisor position early on, trying to get across information very quickly, being smart around the type of questions that you're asking, and developing strong relationships with people to help you to get information to fulfill the needs of the expression of interest or the request for tender. So the transition itself was difficult, because I'm so used to working as part of a big engine and being there for a long period of time and knowing all the answers, to then being in a position where I'm relying on a lot of people for support. And I think also that weird perfectionistic desire to prove yourself in a short space of time.
Yes, I think you're well said. That's an amazing way of putting things together, Tania. I think over these years, again, you might have worked with a lot of, as you might mention, strategic communication, tenders, proposals, different sectors as well. Anything comes to your mind as a good, bad, ugly, top three for various reasons that, you can't forget this, either because of the people, because of the process, or because of anything that went through?
As in, you're just saying bad, like things that stick in my head of, that was terrible, I'd never do it again, or that was great, I'd repeat that. Is that what you mean, Baz?
Correct.
I think my biggest thing, the more I learn as I mature, even though I'm very mature aged at the moment, is continuing to, I think, sort of create distance and space. I mean, there's always a lot of things that are going to irritate when you're in a pressure cooker environment, and there's a lot of deadlines, but I think that always sleeping on things and never reacting too quickly to stuff when there might be some grievances, because there's always, Baz, invariably, I think in those sorts of environments, sometimes we don't get along, or we're a bit short and sharp with people. And I think it's always really important. For me, what I've learned is it's just always better to hang back a little bit sometimes and listen and just give people the benefit of the doubt. So it's more of philosophy, if anything, for me. So, and in terms of one of the more recent tenders, I think for me, I got an opportunity to work in an environment where it was very, very, very inclusive and very open, and there wasn't much judgment in it, which was great in terms of it was such a great environment where everyone could bring something to the table and ask questions, and it was what I think is the true essence of a bid, where you're taking lots of ideas from across very different perspectives and bringing it all together. And I think when you get it right, it's a beautiful thing. When you're working in large groups and you have the right people that set those tones, and those are the types of dynamics that I would love to continue to try to, I guess, influence or be a part of in all of my tenders moving forward. Unfortunately, I don't have too many big, bad, ugly things that I'm probably willing to share with you, Baz, to be honest, but there's certainly, I certainly try my very best to self-reflect about my own behaviours and how I interact with people and how I impact them as much as I can. understanding that I'm not always going to get things right and not everyone's going to like each other all the time, but just as long as we act as mature people and do the right thing by the organisation and the job, then we're in a pretty good space.
That's very beautiful, Tania. I think, as you rightly said, we can learn from the good things, we can learn from the bad things. Similarly, people teach us all the time how to be, how not to be. So
yeah,
I think it's beautiful what you just said. I think that's amazing reflection.
Thanks, Baz.
Yeah, totally. So when you are, again, it's property development, energy, real estate is during the COVID era had a massive transformation. Tanya, you might have seen how people moved away from their offices, work from home, and now many real estate providers are actually reinventing themselves into finding different ways, or companies are enticing employees to come 3 days a week. We provide free meals, this. When you are working with a client, especially in that sort of domain, did you find the COVID impacting, the type of clients that you worked?
No, not. So during the heart of COVID, I was still working for the last organisation, which was Dexus. Well, actually, that's not true. I straddled in Tender Plus. I started during the second lockdown, actually. But in terms of influencing the tender process or influencing, sorry, you might have to reframe that question, but there's nothing in terms of it. My only impacts there were how we worked together and getting better at communicating with each other during that period of time. But I'm not sure that I'm directly answering your question. You might have to just reframe that a bit for me, Baz.
No, I mean, there were major developments like real estate, energy transition, and other things that was happening pre-COVID. But during COVID, they all evolved into something hybrid, right? So how did you adapt yourself to that environment?
Sure. Well, for the first lockdown, we moved everything to the cloud. So we were completely, I guess, bulletproof moving forward. So we very quickly transitioned in the group that I was in at the time. Which was a great achievement because a lot of other people took a lot longer to do it. And so I guess, and we had a pretty good infrastructure at the time in terms of high engagement from my leader at the time. And we had relied on WhatsApp, and, there was real care and concern for each other. I think as time went on, there was generally fatigue, I think, with that in terms of communicating across social channels. And it was exhausting, and dealing with the bombardment of information around government restrictions and trying to understand what it meant from day to day. I think that was definitely the first year. And then in the second year, we sort of got a bit more used to that hybrid way of working, and people enjoying, or reacquainting themselves to coming back into the office and then, dealing with the fact of, well, you suddenly have a whole heap of noise in the office and you're working at home. You might have had family members at home, which is a different kind of noise. But if you were like myself, I was living on my own, it was deathly silent. So coming back in and learning how to work in noise again was interesting, I think. And nowadays, I think hybrid's still strong and still standing, and we're taking the benefits of that. And I think in some bid environments, it can be challenging because it's good to have everyone in the office close by, shouting out questions to each other and helping, especially as a deadline fast approaches. But I feel like we have a pretty good grapple now, or I certainly do, in balancing both, straddling both online and in person. So yeah, I still have a pretty strong preference for in person, to be honest, Baz. I'm a social creature. I also feed off the energy of what I can see and what I can hear.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my preference, but I certainly relish in when you need to get knuckled down and write something. It's always better when you don't have many distractions.
I think it's amazing. Again, you have that maturity to know when to go switch to different types of models. Tanya, amazing. I mean, like, I'm so excited. Actually, at what point?
Thanks,
at
Baz.
what point in your proposal career did you come across APMP, an industry body? When did you become a member? And talk us through APMP ANZ.
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, only, to be honest, Baz, last year. I actually never knew that APMP existed, and I wish I did know, because I feel like it would have helped a lot, at least 5-8 years ago. So there's just and that's a point that I think I've raised with our chair, just something for us to be mindful of moving forward is how it gets promoted and how widely known it is. But I also, there were recruiting for roles on the board committee for the ANZ chapter, and I put up my hand. I wrote an application for the conference and events lead, as I have some pretty strong experience in running big events at the energy company. And yeah, so we have, I mean, it's a challenge to balance volunteering with a pretty hectic, I guess, day job when you're in the heart of a big tender. So, but we have I guess it's more compounded by the fact that we're running a conference after a 3-year hiatus, because the last time we did a conference was pre-COVID on the 7th and the 8th of September. So it's been pretty hectic, but it's been great experience, Baz, and being able to connect with a lot of like-minded individuals on this committee who are really proud of their association with APMP, and also are keen to recruit further members and build this association in order to, I guess, advocate more for what we do as bid and proposal professionals, and ensure the importance of these roles continues moving forward, and that they're viable career paths. So it's been pretty great experience.
I'm glad that you, and it takes a lot of courage, yes, to becoming a member. It's one, mainly people do that to pursue their certification ambitions, but once they become a certified person, then pretty much majority of the people tend to be quiet. but for moving from then on, I know, to apply for a committee member, to continue to volunteer, because it's not simple. Because that's the reason why we are highlighting you part of this podcast. It's because of taking the time to do what it takes, and also the big heart of continuing reflecting, continuing to learn at the same time, share. And I'm sure the APMP ANZ conference will be amazing, Tanya, and keep me posted with the updates. We'll also share the updates through our channels as well. Wish you and team all the success on that one.
Thank you. This is just my opportunity to plug it, Baz.
And
if you haven't bought your ticket, buy it now.
Exactly. Yes, I think it's just the other side of the thing, and I think I might have missed it this time, but next time I'll add it to my calendar, Tanya. So when is
wonderful?
Talk us through.
Conference, yeah. Yeah, sure. It's the 7th and 8th of September. So we're only around 25 days or so away. It's in Sydney at the Sofitel in Darling Harbour, and we've we've put a lot of thought and effort into this as a committee, and we really want to make sure that our ticket holders get real value for money. So we are taking the approach that we're emerging from a series of lockdowns in a pretty crazy time, and we want to take the first half of the day to really reflect on, well, what's the new world look like? Or what's the future look like? And how can we take that information and help us to better respond to tender briefs, or help customers put the best foot forward, or address client concerns and needs moving forward. We then roll into the second half of the day with trying to, we're trying to be, a bit more high energy and motivating for people rather than long sessions. So we've introduced a TED Talks style format, which is called BidX in the afternoon, with 18-minute presentations, short, sharp, no Q&A, but just interesting things to talk about across the sales cycle process. And then, of course, we have a lovely dinner on the first night, and then we roll into the second day with some more targeted presentations across the sales cycle. And we're really excited. We've got a really good lineup of speakers, and we're extremely grateful for the people that have volunteered their time.
Ah, beautiful. I'm sure, as you rightly said, 3 years is a long time, and events like this brings people together. And beyond learning, you're going to find a lot of smiles, a lot of happiness being shared across. Please do share it. I'll follow that in LinkedIn. Hopefully I'll share it to the community as well. But thank you, Tania.
Will do.
All the very
best.
You. I got a glimpse of Tania. But let's go back, and we had an early life career. Then we look how you transitioned into proposals, Tender Plus, APMP. Before we enter into Nutters round in honor of Howard Nutt, which is a rapid random fire questions round, tell us 3 things not many people know about you, Tania.
Ooh, okay. Let me just think about that. I know it's rapid fire. What do I want to admit to? So I love improv theatre. So a friend of mine, my best friend, Kate, introduced me to it a few years ago. And if I come to think of it, I've probably been doing improv my whole life, to be honest, Baz, but I have a love for improv theatre, and I have done a couple of performances in my time. So I'm not sure that I share that so readily. Secondly, I have a secret desire to do stand-up comedy. And saying that out loud is terrifying. I have just this secret thought that I'm hilarious, Baz, and that I should share that with the world, or I would like to put myself under such extraordinary pressure and see what it takes to do stand-up. And I guess the last thing is I don't spruik at it loud enough, but I have pretty grand ambitions in life in terms of, I guess, developing my career. So maybe I'm not so loud about that stuff.
Amazing. I think improv theater, again, spontaneous way of doing things. It's great. And stand up, you should try totally, because I'll just to maybe inspire you. I'll maybe tell you something. I think 2 months ago, one of my friend, he's a story writer. So he came with a play, just a comedy play, just telling about, an immigrant coming to UK, and then what will he go through. That is a big historical play from where I come from in South India.
Yep.
So where a king, he'll be traveling to different countries, and like a prince traveling to different countries, and what does he go through? And they made it as a comedy script, as what if the king comes to UK, for example, in the current situation during COVID, and that's the play about. And he was doing the script. And because in my office, it was very quiet. He normally comes in, he writes his scripts, and we were working, because obviously I've never acted So I've acted in 1 or 2 dramas that was during school days and college days. But
Nice.
but funnily enough, halfway through, the characters went bigger, and then the lead character had COVID, and and 2 days before the actual theater performance, I stepped in as the lead character.
Yay!
So it was in Wimbledon Theatre here, and this
Oh my God.
play was like for 45 minutes, and I have to come in like all 14 acts, and it and it includes singing, dancing, proposing to a
No.
girl, falling in love, and you name it. I because I didn't think it through, and I just went in and I did. In the first scene, I should flip down and fall, just because
No.
that will be my introduction, and so yeah, and it all
Yeah,
happened. I
well
think
done.
don't think too much. Again, over you up
No.
the way I see through, things. All you have done is you have put forward your thoughts to the nature, and I'm sure nature is listening, and it will happen. It will all come together. But all you need to do is just to believe in yourself. I'm just telling it in my way. I never planned it. A month or no, 3 months ago, did I thought that I will be an artist? No, it just happened, and you just take it with open arms, and that's it. I'm sure there'll be an
There you go.
opportunity. Maybe if there is a virtual comedy thing, I will host you part of the Scribble thing, and you could try that. And you could try that.
Excellent.
We will do a virtual play. I'm sure listeners will
You're
be
on,
happy.
Baz. You're on.
Perfect. And then again, outside this hobbies and interests, what are the other hobbies and interests do you have, Tanya?
Well, maybe it's born out of lockdown a little bit, but I don't. I love movies and really good TV. I know that sounds terrible, but I think with the advent of streaming, it's just created, like, it's so accessible now, and there's so many interesting things to watch and see, and yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's some really good TV. So I try not to make it too much of a focus, but unfortunately that binging nature of streaming is ever present, especially if it's probably a bit of a stress relief for me. If I've had a long day, I can tune out a little bit. I have a pretty good bunch of mates who like to explore Sydney often, and often have some interesting ideas around galleries, theatre to go to. So we do that in our spare time. And of course, I'm just probably working my way back up to traveling again, to be honest, Baz. So I've sort of stayed away internationally in this last year when borders were open, and I'm looking forward to venturing across to Europe next year. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be going up to Alice Springs and Uluru, Ayers Rock, if you know of it. So probably, yeah, getting my travel legs back again, which is exciting.
Yeah, totally. I think travel, especially with your amazing outlook of life, you're going to find a lot of people inspiring you, both within and also outside. And I'm glad that you're taking time to pack your bags and go, just, impulsive, acting. That's what you love about keep the life impulsive as well.
Yeah.
That's how I go. But that's amazing. I think Sydney's great. I was working in Australia for three months. Sydney was the base. That was like way back in 2008, 9, because I was I was then part of Circle. So we were running all this immigration projects, court enforcement, immigration, prisons type projects in Australia. So we were bidding both from UK and Australia. So I just came in.
Nice.
A few months
at the time of the GFC.
Yes. All those things. But yeah, Australia might have changed a lot. I haven't visited, but now you've inspired me. I might miss this.
Yeah, you got to come back.
Definitely. If you are there, Tania, let's do it. And then
we'll show you around, Baz. Come on down.
Totally, Tania. Thank you for that, Tanya. Let's officially enter the Nutters round, or in honor of Howard Nutt. Howard Nutt is my mentor. He was the founding member of APMP, and that's how the whole thing passed out. Just in case if you don't know. So let's go to the Nutt. There's no right or wrong answers. Whatever comes in your mind just goes in. What's the naughtiest thing you have done in your school or university or college?
I would say smoking a cigarette.
That's good. That's nice. So which song do you sing only when you're alone, and what memory does it bring back?
Ooh, oh gosh, I've drawn a complete blank. Baz, I'll probably say something really daggy. Like I don't know, Miley Cyrus and The Climb. I think
that's a good one.
What it does, I don't know that I sing it other than I probably move to it, but I think the memory for me is more about taking inspiration from when things are tough and pushing through. So yeah, in the most simplest form, that's probably what it means to me.
Totally. Nice. So what product would you seriously stockpile if you found out that they weren't going to sell it anymore?
Toilet paper. Come on. After lockdown, it has to be the one on the tip of everyone's tongue.
I guys remember the news articles. I don't know whether it was real, because I was repeatedly going to my nearest one and everything was still there. But
it was so hard. I remember posting to the team I worked with at the time, when I finally found toilet paper, how excited I was. It wasn't my preferred toilet paper brand, Baz, but it was a pretty amazing find. It was very slim pickings.
Wow. Life. See how life just gives us, what we took for granted previously. Now every little thing we start to celebrate success. Yeah, I got
exactly. I got toilet paper. I know.
That's nice. So I know you like drama, you like travel, comedy. Have you ever cried in a movie or a theater or a TV play?
Yeah. That's not a hard thing for me to do, Baz.
Yeah, I know.
I can connect. I can connect pretty well to stuff. But I can't tell you. I'm just trying to think the last one I did, and I can't think off the top of my head. But yes, that's not a difficult thing for me.
Yeah, I cry big time anytime.
Healthy.
If I watch any movie, even some songs,
it
just goes through. Sometimes I always have a notepad with me, so sometimes I'll sit if there is any dialogues or any emotional stuff comes over. I even sit once I think it's the movie. I forgot the name. The movie where anyway, I missed it now. So it was a very emotional movie, and in that movie, how the hero, with this as a single father, he needs to bring up a child, and then he will be talking through a lot of good stuff, and then I couldn't take it. Halfway through, I came out. Then I came in. I took my notepad. Then I was starting to write. And then he came back and said that dialogue was amazing. And I went back. And then literally, I opened my pen without knowing that my kids have already removed the refiller, the filler, the thing that's used to. So I was literally writing with an empty head.
What to distract yourself? Oh.
Distracted totally. So anyway, so that's it. That's good.
I feel like you're probably describing every single movie then, even if you don't remember which one. But there's, anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I think if you see a person, the important thing is you have to have a moment with them. That's what I care about. Next time when I meet Tanya, I will remember this.
Yeah.
And that's it. Every movie gives you that moment, and it's important. I always capture that moment, whether it's a food or a person or anything, And so that's it. So that's nice. That's nice. So I know you're traveling, but if you might have traveled in the past, or you're planning to travel, you might have some list of places that you always want to go. If you could visit any place in the world, where would you choose to go and why? Do you have any top 3 places?
I mean, I'm off to I mean, I am going to Ayers Rock, which is definitely on the bucket list. And I just want to immerse myself in lots of red dirt. I traveled, I'm just trying to think back. In 2013, I went to the US and traveled across from San Francisco to Monument Valley and back then to Las Vegas and back to LA. And it was like seeing that red dirt across probably 13 days of road travel was amazing. And I'm hoping I'll get the same sort of impression from the Australian outback and desert. And I'm really looking forward to that. And also it's a very spiritual place. I'm also heading off next year to France, and I'm looking forward to visiting Champagne. That is not the key part of the trip, but it's one of the places that I'm very keen to visit, and I love Champagne. And then the other place I love and would always go back to is New York. I have a very special place in my heart for that place. I just think it's so full of life and energy, and there's just endless things to do, and it's so much fun. And I went there in 2013 and again 2017. And yeah, every time you go back, there's just another way of looking at it, and it's just wonderful.
Totally, Tanya. Amazing. To continue to travel. I mean, like, yeah, find a reason. I think if you plan it yourself, chances of it happening is very low. Always have a nudge somebody else. Hey,
I don't know if I should have said that out loud. I probably won't get allowed to go through from work. My boss will probably say no now. Anyway.
I'm sure you'll be fine. So you're going to come even more happy, and you're going to work even more, you'll be even more curious. And that's only going to help. I'm sure it'll be fine.
That's it. Yeah.
So if Jurassic Park were real, would you visit it?
Ooh, I'd be curious about it. I think I'd be terrified too. Yeah, if those fences worked, Baz, yes, I'd probably go.
I won't. So if you're going back to the past in history, and if you're given the chance to meet someone from history, who would you meet, and what will you talk?
These are great questions. I'd love to meet my family in terms of I met my nana on my dad's side, but I didn't meet my mum's parents. And I only just found out in recent times that my mum's father was heavily involved in the construction industry. And in some respects, I just think it's kind of cool that I've ended up in these sorts of roles in property and also in tendering across major infrastructure bids as well. And yeah, and I would love to talk to them. They were also, my mum's Russian, and they lived through some pretty interesting times in terms of fleeing Moscow to China, and then from China to Australia. So I'd really love to talk to them and understand the path that they took and understand what it was like at that time. And I'd love to go deeper into that family history.
Totally. That sounds cool. I mean, like, people normally say somebody from history, a character, an author, or a politician, or some star. But it's so nice that you said family, which is very, very Tanya.
I think I've got an interesting past, to be honest, Baz. So
that's good. That's good. Very good. Yeah, totally. Because in my culture, Tanya, we worship our ancestors. We don't worship any gods, because I pray to my dad, my late dad, and then with my late grandfather, my grandfather's grandfathers, grandparents, my grandmother, and that's it. So because we believe in sacrifices over generations. So today I'm here talking to you means that it's a generational sacrifice, right? I mean, like, I'm sure 300 years ago, 400 years ago, somebody, would have done something. It helped the next generation. So for you 100%. To say that, it really means a lot. I mean, like, that's beautiful. So If there is a fight between a rhinoceros and a hippopotamus, who do you think will win?
I'm just going to say, I don't know. Gosh, I'm going to say a rhino.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But most probably the answer is hippo, I think, because it's supposedly
Probably
very strong. Yeah.
Well, I think they're quite aggressive, aren't they? I was just
Yeah.
thinking who's more aggressive and who's larger. You're probably right. Probably is a hippo.
That's it. So what random stranger or what random person that you have not met them before, but you have met them after, you haven't met them after as well, but anybody in your life that who came in and went, but you had a massive impact in your life?
Oh, yeah, look, I've thought about this a lot over the years, and it's funny, I have kept cards from some of the bosses that I've worked with who've just said really beautiful, meaningful things on them, and messages of support, and that have just hit home. And I just think I've been really lucky. I worked for some very senior people in life, and who are very, very smart people, and they have definitely impacted me. And I've often observed them and hoped that through osmosis, a lot of their greatness would eventually rub off onto me, Baz. But yeah, look, definitely the people I've worked with, no one specifically in mind. And I know that's quite work-centric, but I feel like some of the talent in the companies I've worked for has been quite astounding.
Wow, that's nice. I think you have all the blessings, Tania, and I'm sure you're going to meet a lot of people who are going to influence, impact you in a positive way. That's beautiful. So that's the end of the rapid random fire question round. I kept it soft this time. Normally it could go zigzag, but it's okay. It's done. So just on the people part, Tania, who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
Again, I would say the people I've worked with, and probably I just can't do it. I can't signal anyone out in terms of friends or family, because that would just be mean. But yeah, I'm just going to say the people I worked with, Baz.
Nice. So what trait do you like the most about yourself?
Trait. I actually think, apart from being hilarious and a smart lass, I'm a kind person, and I think I'm going to say kindness.
That's nice. So who haven't you met in a long time and you hope that they're doing okay?
No one, Baz, because I pretty much check in on most people.
Nice.
So that's no one comes to mind. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. That tells a lot about you, Tania, because I do have a list of people, both family, friends, colleagues, anybody, just regularly we just catch up. That's just beautiful. I think, yeah. So so I'll be waiting for you to give me a call in.
You bet.
So that's beautiful. And yeah, I think coming to the hilarious part of you, is there any funny movie or funny play or funny talk that you watch that you recommend for listeners?
I just think regularly scouring the internet, YouTube, and I don't know whether it's popular or not. I always love a good Jimmy Fallon sketch, or anything with Will Ferrell in it. I don't know. There's Melissa McCarthy, anything that she's in. There's so much. I'm even watching a new TV series called Loot at the moment. Also, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso on Apple, that's pretty great and funny and also heartwarming as well. But the latest one is Loot that I'm watching, which is pretty funny. And the same lady that was in a movie called Bridesmaids, which was just hysterical for me. Look, there is so much funny stuff out there. I'll come back to you with a full list later, Baz.
Yeah, totally, Tanya. Again, as you can see, there is a complete lack of talent in female comedians. It's a totally. I think if you step up, maybe, or at least do, we will be there cheering for you. It's totally fine.
That's a great invitation.
Exactly. I'll create an entire show for you, Tanya. Scribble Talk is the most listened podcast in the world for bid and proposals. So, we will host you happily. We actually have a program called Scribble Talk Talent. So we started with 3 or 4 because there are some unbelievable talents within the proposal industry. Because the perception is, this is undervalued profession. People work long, late. But even within that, there are lots of talents. So. With this talks, first we go with this talk, what we call stories, Scribble Talk stories, which is what we are going, which is what you're talking. And then from then on, we handpick few and we'll showcase them on the talent. Obviously you will be there very soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Baz.
That's good. So coming back as a final last 3 questions, Tanya, I know you're like every other person, you have just entered this industry through different ways. So what's the one common myth that you find within the proposal industry that you want to debunk?
The myth to debunk. I think that all it is, well, okay, maybe that it's only ever about pricing and it's only ever about the commercials. I find most people would say that it always comes down to a pricing decision, but I disagree. I think it is the pitch, and I think it's the sell, and I think it's the story, and the document is important in terms of its in the position of being mandatory criteria that you have to return, and therefore it's not a compliant bid if you don't do it. But I think to think that you don't plan enough and put enough emphasis and information into it to make it compelling is, or that it's not important is a big risk. In my mind, I think it's just as important as price, and I think we need to continue to see the importance of it and spend the time on it.
Totally, well said. So, from your career, what advice would you give fellow bid and proposal professionals?
This I don't know whether it gets construed or it gets taken in the right way, but my I don't know whether it's advice, but it's more of a comment, and it's a frame of mind, is that bids are messy, and it's not through a lack of organisation and planning, but they often can come together in very haphazard ways. And by that, I mean lots of ideas influence a bid, and there's many ways that it can change course and nature over time, but they're messy and you're dealing with humans. And as long as we start to enjoy that process, then, for the perfectionists of us out there, then we can probably relax into it a little bit more and enjoy it. And that bid should be enjoyable because it's lots of people that you can connect with in the pursuit of responding to a EOI or an RFT, and we can make it fun. As much as they are stressful and pressure cookers, they can be a lot of fun too.
Well said. I think it's good to be realistic, because we can talk all these. I'm sure I train people, as you know, and it's quite heartbreaking. Like yes, you can do all this intelligent analysis before a bid, have come out with this nice kickoff night process, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be, every bid still going to be unique, and it's going to go exactly in the same way as you described. And that's what gives you that adrenaline push, like, okay, I think I know something, but really I didn't know this book.
Yeah,
this bit
totally.
taught you something. That's beautiful. Well said. That I'm sure listeners will be totally agreeing with that. So, is there any part of your life or career, or is there anything else you would like to share to the listeners before we close the episode, Tanya?
No, I think it's. I would just reconfirm that. Well, I think to continue to advocate for doing things a better way after every bid, ensuring that we look after each other during bids, and that we celebrate each other's successes as much as it's a competitive industry or a profession. And we take the time to celebrate each other and our individual strengths, and that we find the joy in it and have fun, because it is pretty amazing that you get to often work with a whole heap of talent, sometimes might be globally situated, to come together to inform tenders, and of course they're in different scales for different types of businesses, but on some of the big ones, you actually get access to some really smart people. So they're great. It's a great profession to learn from other people and to grow a skill set in terms of communication and commercial as well. Yeah, that's probably it.
Wow, beautiful. Definitely. I'm sure that's a very punchy point. If you have to meet here exactly in the same podcast 3 years down the line, Tania, what do you think should have happened that you considered, these 3 years is the most memorable year for my life? I'm giving you some goal setting. I'm going to invite you again. Before you invite you, do these 3
as
things.
in what will change? What do I want to change, or what do I want to?
This will be the first question in the next podcast. I'm going to give you.
Oh yeah, gosh, that's mean. It's like a time capsule, Baz. Look, Baz, it would be more interesting projects, more responsibility, and just I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's it for me. It's just a more interesting career. It developed more, and I got involved in more things, and I got more opportunities, but I also put my hand up more and I did stuff. So I think that's it. I know that's vague, but that's it.
No. I think you've started to think about it now, and I'm sure it will form in place. It can come out that these are the 5 countries or 5 places I want to travel, and these are the 5 kids I want to work with, and these are the 5 functional roles of learning. Or by the time, I'm sure in 3 years' time you will be on the stage, I'm sure. And if it's not, I'll come back to you.
As I said, I regret saying that one out loud, but anyway.
No, it happened. You believe me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, I will make it happen. Don't worry.
Could it be just an audience of 2, Baz? Could we just limit it to a small audience?
I have spoken in webinars where there was nobody. The initial. I'll just tell it open. And I normally was. I just thought, okay, let me do some webinars. In 2017, 18, Tania, I used to do webinars, and the 2 or 3 people will accept, because hardly they know me, right? 2 or 3 people accept, and 10 o'clock dot webinar will start. Nobody will be there, but I still would do it. And fast forward, I was just going and looking at the on-demand versions of that. 712 downloads, 440 downloads, etc.
There you go.
That's it. So on that day, on that time, maybe nobody, but you still did it, right? So, and that's the thing, I will be there. I'm sure our listeners will be there, but it doesn't matter. You just have fun.
Doesn't matter.
You just have fun, and we'll see what we can do. But thank you so much, Tania, for this, and wish you, your family, and also the APMP ANZ conference and colleagues all the good health, happiness, success. Take good care, keep smiling, keep inspiring, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Okay.
Thank you very much for inviting me onto this podcast, Baz. I really appreciate it, and for listening so well to me rambling along. But thank you again.
You were amazing. Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode, where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.